welcome to the Final Whistle podcast. Today's episode will be focusing on the rivalry between Wales and England and rugby in general. My name's Leo.
I'm Reese, and today we got Craig Warlow with us today. And how are you today, Craig?
Good, thank you, Reese. Good, thank you, Leo.
What's your experience then in rugby?
Generally or specifically Wales, England?
From your experience from youth rugby to, professional senior rugby.
Okay, so I grew up in the 70s and 80s, which is a bygone era, where there was less sort of social media and technology to occupy young kids' minds. So my upbringing was spent out on the fields, on the street, fresh air, making use out of basic resources. Part of that was, during the summer when England were playing cricket, we'd play cricket. When Wimbledon was on, we'd play tennis. When the Five Nations, which is what it was then, was on, we'd play rugby, rugby and football. So I spent my formative years trying to chase my brother, who's 4 years older than me, around playing, and that probably gave me the motor skills I benefited from at a later date. Post comprehensive, I went into university education, and the game went professional in 1995, and I signed my first contract with Llanelli Scarlets in 1995, and I was part of that guinea pig era where we were feeling our way through professional rugby, and I spent 11 quite happy years as a rugby professional until I had to retire through injury, and here I am 20 years later, still teaching and coaching and enjoying what rugby's given me.
When it was all starting, the rugby going professional, what was it like? Because now it must be different compared to what it was like.
I don't have a day-to-day involvement in pro rugby now, so I couldn't tell you exactly what the landscape is like, but there's a group of 35 grown men chucking a ball around, pretending to be professional athletes, being childish, and trying to get through the day as best they can, much like you guys do in the classroom and on the training field. It's not that different. The way they go about their business has developed. They're stronger, fitter, more complete athletes than I was, but the principles are still the same. Try not to get tackled and try and put the ball over the line. It hasn't changed a massive amount.
So, do you have any experience of Wales and England rivalry?
Yeah, just going back to my formative years, watching the TV, the volume would go up when Wales played England from my mother, father, grandparents. We always wanted to beat the English more than perhaps they wanted to beat us, and that probably stems from historical insecurities about repression and being ruled by a larger country, and it's our chance to sort of gain a little bit of control and bragging rights over Big Brother, if you like. So we've always played on that from a sporting context to try and beat the English. How deep that is, I don't think there's any real contempt for the English now, because the borders are open. I holiday in England, whether the person next to me is English or Scottish, I don't care. But to harness some sort of emotion, deep emotion that these people have done us wrong in the past, I think that's something that is recruited from a sporting point of view. And I've certainly been part of that, and I've enjoyed that tussle with the English, and long may it continue. So yeah, I've had constant battles against English opponents.
So back to injury, what was it then, the injury?
So I was playing a game in Rodney Parade it was November the 11th on a wet night, much like tonight, and the Dragons, who I was playing for, had not long signed an American international outside half, and I was a little bit short on game time, so I was given this game, and probably about 20 minutes to go. There was a gap, I went for the gap, and as I lifted my foot to go through the gap, the defender planted his knee, and I kicked his knee with the top of my foot, and the pressure went through and broke my heel. And I knew it was bad at the time, but because I was not getting much game time, I tried to stay on as much as I could. But at the end of the game, I managed to last the game. I took my boot off and my foot almost immediately swelled up. And the surgeon said that I've broken a bone in my heel, which is usually seen in crime scenes where people are running away from the police. They jump over a fence or a building and they land and break their heel. Incidentally, Warren Gatland fell off the roof. I don't know whether you guys are aware. Fell off the roof maybe 10, 12 years ago, and he had the same injury, broke his heel. And it's a very complicated area in the body that I was advised not to play again. And I was 32 at the time. So it was a pretty easy decision, really.
Yeah. So, building up to the final, what were you guys feeling?
From my point of view, I think we had a master plan about. They beat us by a comfortable margin in the previous game, 60 points to 26. And after that game, I think we were a little bit, as a group, were we shocked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think after that then? Did you think going into the final that they're going to beat us? Be truthful.
Yeah, I thought they were going to beat us, to be honest.
I thought it'd be a close game. You know, obviously, as you said, the first time they beat us, so we're in a good feeling at all. So I thought the boys were ready to go into the next game in the final and bring all they got into that. And hopefully with an outcome we had, it's good from there.
I just thought that they thought all we have to do is turn up, play anywhere near our best, and we blow these away. But I was confident that the last 20 minutes of our game down in Swansea was a little bit of a false presentation of us. So I was confident. I said to the coaches, I'm going to write down here what's going to happen, and I'll show you after the game. And I said we're going to win by 20 points. We did win by 20 points, but I still think we should have.
Yeah.
It's funny how psychological competition is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if you think you're going to win, are you prepared to put that amount of effort in? If you think, you know, we might lose, is scared of losing a driver.
And it was the pressure building on the boys as well. I don't think they were fully up, but they were at the same time. They were a bit doubtful in themselves, I think.
Do you think that's why finals are very often a bit of an anticlimax from a spectacle point of view?
Yeah.
The thought of what happens if we lose as opposed to what happens if we win.
Yeah.
How would you change that mindset then?
Just focus on winning, I would.
Same as Reece, I just focus on, you know, proper training and getting the jobs done that needs to be done on the field.
Yeah, turning up to training is a big one.
Yeah.
Being consistent with your behaviours, I agree with that. On those days when you don't want to do it, but you still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as the upcoming weeks to the final, you got us out training. Obviously the boys wanted to be there, the weather wasn't great, but we still done it and it got us a good result.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think there's many younger kids then coming into rugby?
I believe there's some influence from obviously older brothers like siblings or social media.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of I'd say a family thing. That's how I got into it personally. From my older brother, I went into a local club, Bridgend Athletic, from a young age. I think it was about 6, and then just went in from there.
Did you guys, were you introduced to rugby through the school or rugby clubs?
Rugby clubs I was.
Yeah,
joined the same
clubs.
one as my mum played for, so yeah, went from there.
I think historically, when we were growing up during the 70s and 80s, it was always through schools.
Yeah.
And I think there are positives and negatives to that. You can get a captive audience where you can harness some behaviours, whereas I don't think that's as achievable in rugby clubs.
Yeah.
I think it's more about winning in rugby clubs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You both laughed then. Why is that?
Well, it's mix and match with rugby clubs nowadays, isn't it?
Do you feel that you've had coaches in your formative years that have perhaps shouted and screamed.
Yeah, for losing.
Yeah, there's been questionable coaching around
Yeah.
now than many clubs.
Did you know that at the time, or is it only now you get older you realise that there's a certain process and a way to deal with people, and you look back and think that was rubbish?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain coaching that we need, and then there's coaches that like kind of focus on one thing that doesn't help in a way, but it does. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. I know what you mean.
Mm.
And that focus is usually on what's going to get them the win.
Yeah.
And if it's give the ball to big Reece Lever because he's the best player, that's not really developing those.
No.
Which is a shame.
Do you reckon within the game now and back then with the rivalry, do you reckon it's changed at all, or do you reckon it's kind of similar?
Good question. I think it's probably less harsh now because the journey back and forth between English and Welsh teams is much more regular than it was previously. We only played England occasionally from a professional point of view, and there's talk now of more working together to establish British leagues. But if you're going to play against a foreign opposition, whether it's South African, you look at the Dragons or the Scarlets or the Ospreys. They play multinational teams on a weekly basis, and whether it's an English team, a Scottish team, or an Italian team, I don't think they're that bothered. Whereas historically, we didn't have that varied a fixture list, although it was quite varied. And as time's gone on, I think perhaps that's diluted the hate between us.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for coming on, Craig.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, boys. Well done.